All right, let's go to section 6, bow accessories. Ooh, this is a big one. Since 2012, I started using bow accessories. The first one we make. What are bow accessories? Everything you go on a bow and crossbow is bow accessories. There's tons and tons of them. Let me show you what they are. Overview. Titanium kits, hardware fasteners, arrow rest, arrow stab, arrow bump, arrow crank, and upgrades. What are they? This is one of the fun stuff. If you go to my website, go to Firenock Titanium Upgrade. Hopefully, I will let Shannon bring up one of the websites. I will show you what it is. You click on Find My Kit. We have every single bow down to Matthew, all the way down to Featherlight on every single size screw needed on each bow. What do you think of that? Think about 1986 bows to today. Every single screw on it on one bow. Now see, this is how you click on it. Go ahead and click Titanium Kit right on the get-go.
We're in Firenock again.
We're in Firenock website.
Faxes and components.
Right.
Titanium.
Just click on Titanium Kit, the physical piece. Just click on it. Instantly it brings you to Titanium Kits.
It's a whole other database.
Right. So the first thing you did, you click on manufacturer. You say whatever, Hoyt. Just click one.
Okay.
H-O-Y-T.
Am I clicking Hoyt?
Down. Right here. Hoyt. Good. Let go. Next thing you pick on the year. Say, let's click on the newer one. Right here. Okay, unclick. Then you click on the bow. Bingo. You click on it. The system will show you the bow. Every single screw on it. Can you skip scrolling? The total weight, how many fastener, what is the original hardware weight, what is my titanium weight. If you need it, click on it, say buy now. The system will instantly bring you to our website. You can buy all the options.
So you can pick whatever you want.
You can now pick on you want hollow limbos, you want individual button rest side, what titanium arrow rest side screw you want. Do you want broadband? Now, most of my dealers, they don't do this side. They do it the Raven. They do it the Matthews, the Hoyts. They're the easiest. Like, I shall name one that do the most. Like Full Curve Archery. They won't even sell a bow without my titanium kit if they're going to Kodiak Island. Like the Full Draw Archery out of Kentucky. They bought about a dozen of this every month. Now, you average charge about $125 a bow to put it on. You got 30 points margin when you put it together. So technically, every bow you put together, you put $150 in your pocket, minimum. It takes work. So I don't recommend you do it 2 months before hunting season. This is what you do after hunting season for next year. Yes, you know your bow right, but first thing, if you want to do this business, get a good bottle of anti-seize and get a whole bunch of good screwdrivers and sockets and hacks, because you're going to need it. Because when you find out that you just ripped the thread off, say, a Raven cam, what do you do now? Or you did not screw right into a Hoyt hyper camp. Now you're full responsible in that. That $100 just disappeared. Yes, Loctite blue anti-seize is critical for this business. Now, why would I put titanium kit into a bow? Titanium does not rust. Titanium do not transmit vibration. Titanium is 45% lighter than steel. Let me give you an exact what happened. When you put a titanium kit on a bow, say on a Raven, you can shoot the same identical arrow with the same identical speed of the chronograph. It will be 8 to 12% difference in impact energy change at 60 yards. As a matter of fact, in 2013, with Jim Miller, who is a pro staff of Matthew, I take the chill, I put the titanium kit out, I shoot the bow, shooters. Then I put a titanium kit in. It shoot exactly 317 feet per second. At 40 yards, it hit 2 inches higher. With the same arrow, same speed on a chronograph. At 40 yards, you're looking at 3.5 inch difference. Do you know how much faster you need to shoot to get that 3.5 inch higher at 40 yards? That's about 40 feet per second. But remember, the critical part is that I'm shooting the same arrow, launch at same identical speed, but the arrow hit higher. Explain that. This is where the difference is. Let me show this to you. You think an arrow launch, the arrow is fired like this, right? Initially. No. The moment you use 70% let off or more, the arrow, when you shoot it, take a close-up of my hand, it's doing this. What is it doing? That is microflex built to a resonance of the bow when you launch it. Titanium, take it away. When the arrow is doing microflex, what's it doing? It's consuming energy. Where do microflex come from? High let-off, lightweight bows. Can you tell me there's any bow we bought today that is not high let-off, lightweight? You cannot. So every bow will give microflex, resonance, when you shoot it. The resonance is transmittable and carryable by the arrow shaft. So the moment you put titanium on the fastener, you prevent the focus of energy on any of the fastener point of the bow, especially your limb bolt, your cam mask, your limb tip screws. They all have microflex in it, which now transmit the bowstring, which give to the arrow. The moment you limit the microflex, you gain 6 to 8% on efficiency after 40 yards. Isn't that wild? As a matter of fact, if you talk to Mark Dysky out of Michigan, he's one of my biggest Raven dealer, on the R10 with the titanium kit, just by changing the axle and the titanium kit, you can see 4-inch difference at 60 yards with the same bow, same weight, same string. That's not an if, that's consistent every time. But then you notice in the old days, now let me give you a history of titanium, okay? Titanium come into the so-called non-high-tech market when the first guy make a titanium hammer. That's come in 1986, 87. It's only 16 ounce compared to a 24 ounce frame hammer. If you are a framer, you use a 24 ounce hammer to frame a house. By Thursday, when you go home, you put ice on your shoulder to keep it. The moment you use titanium hammer, by Friday, on Saturday, you can go fishing with no hurt on your arm. What's the difference? The feedback of resonance. Titanium do not transmit vibration back.
It's hard.
Because titanium, the natural resonance of titanium is none. Give you an idea. If you're a carbon tubing, when you send 100 units of vibration through a high modular carbon, if I put 100 here, I got 99.8 here. If I send 100 through a titanium bar, guess how many I got back on this side? Assuming it's just normal. Less than 10%. That's what titanium does. But then, how come nobody used titanium? Because back in 1984, a basic 632 socket screw cost 72 bucks. At that time, Whopper is $2 a piece. You are talking 36 Whopper to buy a 638 socket screw. Today, you can buy that screw for $1.50, while Whopper is 7 bucks. See the difference in price? But you need to find good source, because if you don't, you may get that screw for $14, which is 10 times the price. So first of all, you need a source. You need people who make it the way you want it and make it correctly, and have dealers who know how to install it. You don't just basically put titanium screw in it. There's a lot of very minor things, like when you put a titanium screw, a GR510 into a cam screw. You don't just put the screw and turn and put it in there, go in. No, you don't. You use a handheld driver. You put the screw into the cam and you turn the screw backwards until you heard click. Then you also have to put Loctite glue on it, then you go forward. Do you know why you do that? You want to match the thread initial point. Because if you don't, GL5 titanium is harder than a die. You can cut threads on the cam. Now the cam's gone. So every single procedure has to be done right because GL5 titanium is as hard, if not harder, than tool steel. So you need to know what you're doing. You need to hold a good screwdriver and actually feel the thread before you thread it. Then you need to put Loctite glue. Why? If you don't put Loctite glue, the titanium aluminum will gouge. 2 years down the road, that screw will permanently seal and become part of the cam because aluminum and titanium will fuse together. That's the reason you put Loctite glue. As a barrier, you prevent the tool from gouging. But then you can't use that for limb bolts. So what you use? You use copper anti-seize. A lot of it. Because GL5 titanium is so hard, the moment you put aluminum in it on a riser, it will flatten the thread and increase the surface pressure up to 1,000%. And they begin to gouge and fuse together. Remember, when you thread, only a partial surface of your thread touching the riser. If you do not put copper anti-seize in it, the titanium will flatten the aluminum and increase its total contact surface until it fuses together. So if you don't use copper anti-seize, you don't use Loctite glue, and you just slap this thing together, first of all, I'll guarantee you can't turn the limb bolts. Or you break the limbs, or you break the screw. If you don't put anti-Loctite glue on it, you don't have a good set of drivers, you end up seizing and tearing the thread off your cam, your riser, your limb tip, you name it. So, is this a simple process? It is a simple process if you know the process. Just like I told people, brain surgeon is easy as long as you learn how to do it. And you have the background to do it. That's the reason you come here, to listen to me talk on this and hopefully do it slowly. Prefer on your own bow first. So you know you'll be super careful. And after you learn how good it is, nobody you know will not have this. As a matter of fact, every one of my dealers who sell this, they sold every one of them. Yes, let me just guide you. If you're a Matthew dealer, get 2 of your favorite Matthew bow. Before the season starts, put titanium kit in it, and do not sell that bow under any condition. Let the customer shoot it with titanium, and without it, you will sell every single kit you got. And no matter if the customer said you do not sell that bow, you fix for him. Because when that bow is gone, you now have to spend time to do another one. And the next comer who walk in after him won't have the bow to shoot. And yes, unless you are like one of the customers in Kentucky, every one of his bow do not go off the shelf without my titanium kit. That's how he sold it. This is a very, very good place, especially if you're a dealer. What do you do after, say, February? This is what you do. I give you this. Next week. Okay, arrow rest. Arrow rest is a component that I would say 99% of archers can't use this. This is too good for its own benefit. So arrow rest is a rest that should be used by most common people on crossbows. Why? If you take a closer look at arrow rest, this, by the way, would you want to make a wild guess how heavy is a Firenock arrow rest for regular bow? Fully ready to load on the non-micro adjust in weight. What would you consider heavy or light?
5 ounces. 5 ounces.
What does 1.25 ounce sound? And it's good for 5 million shots with no wear. Now the downside. This rest, when you put an arrow on the arrow rest, guess what the total contact surface is? 8 millionth of a square inch. That means the arrow rest is making contact with your arrow at 8 millionth of a square inch at all times. Now, if you remember physics, what's friction? Force over area is friction, right? So if your total surface area is approaching infinity, which means small, what's your friction? It's approaching infinity small. So when you put an arrow on an arrow rest, there is no friction technically. It will never ever wear out. Now what's the downside? How come it didn't sell like hotcakes? Because it's so precise. For 99% of people who shoot bows, let me show you what they did. They shot, or they shot and do this. It doesn't work. Because arrow rest is a full containment rest. When you shot it, you need to do what I did. You shot it, you hold, and you hit the arrow hit the target, then you drop your hand. Most people can't do that. That's the reason we make drop away rest. You know what drop away rest really mean? You can't hold the bow steady enough, the arrow rest drops away so that your hand movement doesn't affect your arrow rest. That's arrow flight. That's the reason people should like drop away. That's actually the truth. If you're able to hold when you look at every single pro shooters, they will hold the bow. They always use they will shoot launchers. Because they want to have absolute control. Let me give you a different form of explanation. If you shot long-range rifle, and you can't hold your gun correctly, what's the easiest way to do? Cut your barrel length. So what is drop away? Cut your barrel length. If you cannot hold the arrow rest, your bow holding hand correctly, arrow rest is detrimental to your shooting. Because absolutely it demands your bow holding arm do not move until the arrow hit the target. So where did it shine? It shine when you put on Raven. It shine when you put on Attack 15. It shine when you put on Scorpet. Because that whole thing never moved. And by doing so, now take a look at it. See that 3 ceramic ball right here? There's 3 more. There's 6 ceramic balls. When you shoot this, the first ball will push to the second ball and push down to the spring. Each of the ball at that moment have no more than 3 contact surface. So each of the ball at any time is only 12 millionth of a square inch contact. But since the arrow flex in here, you touch no less than 2 balls at a time, the total contact surface is 8 millionth of a square inch. 8 millionth of a square inch. Imagine that number. Because this is an ABEC 5 ceramic ball bearing, the circumference is 2/1000th of a square inch, which make the total contact surface 4 millionth of a square inch times 2 is 8 millionth. Now you understand why this arrow rest is so good and so accurate for Raven. Because like the Raven use rollers, right? When you shoot arrow rest that's heavier than 450 grain, what happened? You flatten that roller. Your accuracy just gone. But what's the downside? The downside is that in order to use this arrow rest on a Raven, the only 2 bows you can use the factory are the R26 and the R10. All the rest of the bow you must buy 22-inch arrows because it sticks too far forward. Why is it so magic? See the magic 96 degree? You notice this 2 point, hey, why come they are not 120 degree? I did make that. Then I found out how stupid I am. Because when you launch that arrow, the arrow pushes down. The ball goes down. It ends up to more than 122 degree. Now these two begin to fight. The tuning becomes a nightmare. But at 96 degree, the moment you push it down, it behaves like 120 degree. Now they are even. That's what happened when I first make 120 degree. I end up with closer to 180 degree. These 2 balls will microly and physically fight each other because you are doing closer to this. But when you're at this, they can't fight. Because they fight, they end up with nothing. And that is the magic 96 degree. And yes, the ball you see here, all 6 balls, that's not 3, 6. Every one of them are ABEC 5 zirconium oxide ball. Why do I use zirconium oxide? That's a question a lot of people ask me. Ceramic is loud. I say no. This is the same as enamel. This is not a silicon nitrate. This is not silicon carbide. It's zirconium oxide. It's one of the lowest class of ceramic. That's hard enough. And it's white. That means when you rub this on carbon, the same frequency come out is like 2 pieces of hardwood rubbing. If you ever hunt, is the woods ever quiet? Never. Have you ever seen wood rubbing on each other? Absolutely. If you don't, there's no woods there, there's no place to sit. That's the reason. That's one way. You cannot make it 100% quiet, so make the sound like everything else. That's the reason it's using zirconium oxide. Okay, those are my basic arrow rests. See that? These 2 arrow rests and titanium tubing and also aluminum tubing, those weigh 1.25 ounces. Our 2 axis, by the way, there's 3 separate US patents on this. This micro adjust arrow rest weighs 2 ounces, including the titanium, double titanium screw. You can do, see that? It's right here, there is a vernier micrometer. You can visually see and adjust up to 0.1 millimeter adjustment. There's 1, 2, 3 ball bearing for you to adjust. And the pattern is 1 screw will contain both axes simultaneously. Because when you do micro adjust, you adjust 1 axis, you adjust the second one, the whole thing moved. This is 1 screw for both axes. And the best part of it, this whole thing weighs less than 2 ounces. Downside, if you are not a guy that can hold your arm steadily until you hit the target, don't use arrow rest. It will be horrible. You can't even get 3 arrows on the same spot. So it's a total different thinking. In other words, don't use follow-through method. You shoot it until the arrow hit the target before you move. All right, next one. Okay, we talked about all this. Do you know that we make a full stabilizer system? That's what the arrow stab is. Let me give you some comparison. A basic AEP knuckle, which means this whole piece right here, okay? It's about 11 ounces. Do you know what's the weight of this whole thing, including 2 quick release? 1.6 ounces for us. Our weight is about 1/8 of everybody else. The other thing is that you notice they are all solid titanium. What does titanium do? It cancels all the vibrations. So this is the easiest to aim. That means when you full draw, the stabilizer can shake, but your arms don't, which is exactly opposite of everything. This helps you to do the follow shot. It also helps you to aim, but it do not help you to hold. Hold requires mass and weight. This do not have mass or weight. So stabilizer systems are the best for older gentlemen, lady shooters. They love this. If you are, say, a 35-year-old guy, you want heavy, thick stuff and band-proof, this is not for you. Inside here, there's 4 separate patterns. Unlike other systems, you notice that the Firenock arrow step stabilizer have all the major components. See that? They all like a jigsaw puzzle. You can build the way you want it. As a matter of fact, you can put up to 4 stabilizer bars concurrently on a Firenock system, because we all use the same bullseye mount. So you can split your stabilizer into form like this, just like Olympics. And you can put up to 4 elbows each for every separate angle you want. Then you can put the stabilizer on a quick release, solid or wind. And finally, in order to work with any of the older, like somebody have a shrew system of the dead center system, with their older system, we even make the adapter. So you can use our bar on the adapters. Because some people who shoot the ASA prefer the 27-inch bar, so they can walking stick with it. But then you require your whole body to lean on it. Our elbow is meant for holding, not for leaning. So you can use the adapter to put our bars on it using their elbow for leaning. That whole system is superly flexible. You can pretty much do anything you want with it. Now, give you an idea. See the See the elbow right here? This unit is 0.3 ounces. That whole unit right here. This unit is 0.4 ounces. This unit is 0.5 ounces. So adding them. That's the whole deal. And every single screw we put on it have O-rings, have laser marking, and a titanium screw on it is actually 1/5 the weight of a normal screws. Because our screws are shorter and we use button head compared to socket head. Okay, now talk about, see that? The elbow fastener, see that? It's a T40. It's a 5/8 inch long screw. This screw only had 1/5 the weight of anybody. But then there was one unique thing, which is another pattern we have. You notice our studs, like everybody's stabilizer, they got a stud that will screw all the way in, right? You notice how long our stud is? Do you know why we do that? I will show you shortly after we finish this on a practical side. You notice every one of our weight have O-rings on it. See the O-ring right there? So now you can put 2 of them and go up and down on this tube and lock them on a specific spot. Did you hear what I just said? You can lock your weight on this entire bar anywhere you want it at will. That means imagine you're holding a stabilizer bar and the back bar. After you build it, you say, you know, I would like a 1/2 ounce more because the front seems dropping. In the old days, you take the 1.5 ounce out, you put a 2 ounce back in, right? Now with this one, you can actually unlock 2 weight, roll back 3 rows, and relock it here. What do you got? You just extend the angular momentum, just like a Chinese scale. So now you move the weight away from you, bingo. You got your 1/2 ounce back without buying anything. Isn't that cool? And after all this, I will show you guys this part, because this part you have to physically see. But you need to know this exists. Finally, aero bump. This part, 99% of people don't understand it. You remember with string bump when they first come out like STS? Everybody will say, oh, nobody need this. But it was a very good design for the days. But everybody screwed up what you should do. Let me show you what that means in our case. By the way, I got a US patent issued for it. You know what's this angle right here? It's not 90 degree, you know that? It's 89 degree and 89 degree. And this is made of GL2 titanium. Just like vibration, or water, or energy, they travel linearly. So when you put a string bump, the vibration comes into here, right? 90% of it will shoot up to here. Then maybe 10% luckily will go backwards to 89 degree and shoot up to here. And then maybe 10% will shoot this way. So how many percentage is left in there? Now, and remember what this is made of? GL2 titanium. What does it do? It only allows 10% of the vibration to pass. So how many percent of vibration from this point is going to that point? You want to make a wild guess? 2%. I eliminate 98% of the entire process. But then how do we possibly make it work for everybody? That's the reason I make the 716 to 516 adapters. I have the GL5 titanium slope collars and the 3H aluminum collars. This is what used for most Matthew bows, because Matthew's hole is 3/8 of an inch. So you take the titanium collar off, you put this on it, and you cut it. Wait a minute, this titanium, how can I cut it? It is GL2 titanium. GL2 titanium has same hardness property as brass. You can cut it very easily with a hacksaw. It's not GL5, it's GL2. That's what they give you. Now you can pretty much eliminate 98% of the vibration of your string when you stop it. This is what the visible length is. If you look at my catalog, we just updated the database on the website. We will start collecting every single bow on the visible length and what the connector is. This is a 5/16 connector in thread. So you can see the thread is go in, then you use the collar to thread to tighten it. See, the beauty of this is that you can also put the bar this way and this way. Now, a lot of my customers screw up in food, including Athens archery, is that they put the string bump away from the hand. You want this always face to the center of the bow. If it face below, you just screw it. Just like guitar. If you want to stop a guitar string from vibrating, you put your hand in the center, not on the edge. So the closer this is to center, the better off you are. So if you put it below it, you just minus 2 inches from what your effective is. So yes, you have 2 lengths you need to learn. One is the visible length, the other is inside length, the third is what kind of coupler it is. Is it threaded, not threaded, or 3/8? Those are only 3 options. Finally, arrow crank. Yes, I designed this arrow crank for scorpion crossbow. It's the only crossbow crank you can decock. Inside there again is a 5 carbon 4 titanium drag component. It's an 800-pound drag. So you can shoot the bow into the crank. See that? That's where the drag system is. Now inside the main shaft there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bearings. So just to support this titanium shaft, see there's a thrust bearing, which will be mounted on this side, And then you got your brass collar, your holding ball bearing, your first attached bearing, which is right here, you can see it right here. The last attached bearing, your thrust bearing, your one-way linear bearing. That's all on the drive shaft, which control the drag system, the drag drum. Inside there's 9 different drag elements. That's total of 800 pounds of force to 0. Now you know why you can decock the Firenock, is using the drag system. And yes, this year, go back to it. This year we improved because a lot of people told us their fingers are getting pinched because they can't use a thinner and shorter arm. So we updated all the arrow crank to a longer arm. It's much easier for older hands. Okay, next one. Now, because the history of scorpion, we actually make 2 different sleds now. This is discontinued on the old one with 4 screws. The new one is this one, which is this is shorter, this is longer, thicker and thinner. This is to go on anybody that is before the Orion Extreme. This is after Orion Extreme. So we are able to retrofit all the scorpion back to the RDT 165 to use the arrow crank. Finally, the crank handles. We actually make 2 different versions of handle with all the accessories. Some people love our handle so much, they actually use it for Tech 15. Then you're going to need different modules to change it. And of course, I just designed the quick release mount that put right here, so that you don't have to look for your crank handles. Finally, for Ravens, okay, we are talking individual, now we're talking brand specific. For Ravens, we make the Raven arrow, the double pulley system, the axle, the titanium upgrade kit, and the arrow rest. And of course, the C and UNOC. You can see our arrow rest micro adjust. You should use this arrow rest only if you shoot 24-inch arrows. So if you desire to use this rest, you have to use 24-inch arrows.
Or 22?
No, 24 for micro adjust, because you got full adjustment for the node tuning. This is actually 3 separate actors on micro adjust. This whole arrow rest weighs less than 3 ounces. And a lot of people ask me, how come it's so long here? That's one of my patents. Imagine that you set up your Raven bow for 60-yard minimum, and you are in a tent, and all of a sudden a deer walk by in front of you at 15 yards. How good is your scope? Have you ever tried to look into a 12-power scope when the deer is 15 feet from you? It's useless, isn't it? So what you do is that you make sure your mounting scope underneath it, there's a see-through, and you use this hole as your aiming hole. Now you can shoot that deer at 15 feet. Now at the same time, you notice a lot of guys have water levels, right, on the front, just like this. But if you're actually a guy who hunt long range, you know how useless that is. You look at the water level, you look back at the scope, you moved. What I designed is that I designed this to able to move this thing far enough that you can see the water level at the bottom of your scope, through the scope. So you're looking at the water level while you're aiming. That's the difference. Now, for the double pulley system, that is, I licensed this 2 pattern from Scorpet. What it does is that, do you guys build strings? Okay, for the string building guys, you will find out in the current string level, you cannot possibly build a string that's under 12 inch and be effective. The string jig is that size. When you build a string of this long, how are you going to serve it right? You're not going to. Not with the tools you have now. So how do you build 4 cables and everything on them to be perfect? It's close to impossible. So somebody may have built a very specialty machine to do that, or put a lot of effort to do that, but in the end of the day, it is not a good approach. With the double pulley system, instead of 4 cables, it's 2 cables. What's the benefit of 2 cables? You got stretch distribution. You got upper and lower cam self-timing. Third, you can do adjustment because there's finally enough length for you to twist. And you can build the cable perfectly because it is within the capability of any good professional string building tools. That's the beauty of 2 pulleys. Now, give you some specs. This is for the last testing I've done. If you buy, say, a Raven R29X, do you know how many shots you get with the factory arrow before the string begins to change? The answer is 30 shots. You hear me right. 30 shots, the string will begin to change. If you use this dual pulley system, okay, it changed the 30 shots to 120 shots. If you put the titanium axle on it, you change the 120 number to 240. If you do the upgrade kit to the titanium, all the screws, plus the arrow rest, because you're shooting a longer arrow, you're shooting a heavy arrow, you are not good to 500 shots with the R29X. That's a lot of work. But if you like the R29X, you want to have 500 shots every 2 years before you change the cable, here's your game. Arrow rest, cable, dual cable system, titanium axle, full titanium screw change, arrow rest, and longer arrow, heavy arrow. That's your game. Do you still have that 480 feet per second? No, you do not. You got 455 approximately. But you got 500 shots for the next 2 years before the cable need to be changed. So those are the crossbow upgrade capabilities and what you can do for Raven. Now for PSE, 26-inch arrow, the D9 and the D2, because it's a long prong, because you need to clip on the string loop. So this is 165. What we did is that, now you see that we actually make 2 titanium bar with 2 rollers. If you know the Tech 15, in the old days is touching the full 2 aluminum bar. Your string is making 5 contacts, each side and crossing. We put 2 titanium bar and 2 rollers. See that? The string actually slide over each other. The string never touches. You gain about 5 feet per second on a 400 feet per second bow. Is that a lot? No, but your string will last a lot longer. And then we also recommend you, instead of using a 4 vein, shoot a 3 veins. But then what you need to do, you need to cut your arrow, your scope mount 1.75 inches, so the vein will clear this point. Because a 4 vein configuration is only good if the arrow need to turn. Did the arrow ever need to turn? No. Because if you think, if you're old enough like me or you have watched Star Wars, what happened when they approach their star from a 2 vein configuration, they go to a 4 vein configuration. That's aerodynamically correct. Because with a 4 vein configuration, it's easy to make turns. Did your arrow need to make turns? No. So 4 vein is not a good thing. 3-ring is the best, especially on a 4-ring bow tie, 60-degree separation. This is no good. Remember I told you about the building arrow wing jig? You need to set the index at 120 degree. Then you start 0, 60, 180, 240. That's your bow tie for the Tech 15. And another thing, since Tech 15 is a cockfight up configuration, how much room you got between the balls? Answer is 0. That means you must shim this piece until this ball, all of them, slightly touch the arrow shaft. That means every single arrow has to be tuned, every group of arrow had to be tuned to fit the arrow rest. If you buy arrow with the OD difference, you are screwed. So don't go ahead and shoot Tech 15 with the factory arrow and then shoot my arrow bow 3. You're screwing yourself because the OD is different. That concludes the Tech 15. Now we talk about sculpted. Of course, sculpted again. We got arrow bolts. We got our Q-Nocks and our U-Nocks for the dead stalker. We do make the arrow rest adapter to all the aluminum bolts, and we do make the entire tactical system. Picatinny rails, trigger guard, and also forward grip, riser stabilizer mount. So you can make this into a tactical weapon system. So there's a lot of upgrades, isn't it? Do this after hunting season, not during hunting season. You regret it. You don't have enough time to build. And finally, for 10-point, we have the D3 knock and the J knock, and we do make the plate so that you can mount the arrow crank onto a 10-point. Because a lot of people in the old days, when you have this mount, you cannot decoct it. Our arrow crank can decoct the 10-point bow as long as you use our sled. So we do make the option for that too. Next one.
No, that's it. You did it.
All right, we did it. That's the whole deal.